Welcome to the June 2014 Project of the Month. This month, what we're going to be doing is showing you how to get different things inside different baskets. We get this question a lot at the show, how to get some of these flowers to overlap the edge of the basket. Do we mask them? How do we do it? And this month, with the pear, I'm going to show you how to do that. So let me move this aside. And I'm going to start off, I have some of this stuff pre-done, so I don't have to stamp and pound on the table. I started off is you stamp your basket. My cards. That is this basket. It's T20. It's a wonderful large ash basket, and I will color it. Get my markers out. When you color, I'm using Tombow Watercolor Markers. Always work light to dark. I'm just going to quickly color in with my brush marker. I'm using the side of the marker, not the tip. If you're going to use the tip, you might as well use the fine end of the marker, because it is a dual-tipped marker. But that kind of defeats the purpose of a brush marker. And what I'm going to do, let's go back. Actually, I shouldn't have put the lid on that. Back in with my light marker, and grab some color off my darker marker. So my light marker is the paintbrush, my dark marker is the paint. This does not hurt your light marker. Worst thing you can do is maybe splatter your cardstock a little bit. Make your basket look to have as much weave as you may like. Quickly color that in. Then you can go back in with your dark marker and add some shadow. That's how you get dimension, maybe a few little spots on the weaves. And what I like to do, these baskets have sometimes sort of an ashy tone. This is a khaki. That other tone in there. I have my basket colored. Now, the flower we're going to put in here is this aster. What we're going to start off doing is we're going to put a few of them into the basket. Very simply, oops, misplaced my black ink, using a quick drying pad for watercolors. I'm just going to take a scratch piece of paper, cover my basket, ink it up well, put a few of them popping out of my basket. That. So when you take it away, the unwanted portion of the aster is on the scratch paper and not on your basket. Now, to get the other asters into the basket, what I'm going to do is you would go and on another sheet of cardstock, stamp your asters. So you'd have a whole line of them, however many you wanted. And then you would color them. Color both the ones in the basket and the separate ones. And again, use Tombows. I'm just going to quickly add some yellow. Not worrying about staying in the lines too much. Go over here on these separate ones and color them as well. You just color all of them, or however many you needed. I'm going to go back in with the soft golden color. Same technique as before, pick up a little bit of the golden with my yellow marker. I'll blend it in. A little on this one. Biggest trick is to put the right lids back on the right markers. Take a little bit of the golden color, deepen by the base of the flower, and then I'm going to grab a dark orange and really just pop the very underside of the petals. Now I'm going to color the leaf and the stem. I'm going to start off with the soft mossy green. And on the ones you're going to cut out, you wouldn't see much of the bottom part of the stem, so you don't even need to color that bottom portion of the stem. Everything has more than one color. Add a little bit of blue. Dress it up. Got a little green on this leaf. And then basically have your flowers in your basket and your extra flowers. What you would then do is take your flowers out of this cardstock. Oops, I picked up more than one piece. And you would cut them out. For the sake of saving time, I have several cut out. And it may seem tedious to cut these out, but if you were to try to create a mask to get the flower petals over the basket stem, you would have to spend all the time cutting that mask out, and then you might not get it exactly where you want it. Part of this that I like is I can then take and put my flowers wherever I want them. Now you may notice on my flowers I did not cut out all the way up to the base of the flower because it makes it kind of flimsy, and unless I need to, I'm not going to even bother cutting it out. In this case I want this flower to be a little bit lower, so I'm going to cut a little of that stem off. And if I place it there and then use a glue stick and glue it down, my petals are in front of my basket stem. Oops, excuse me, got a mosquito. Lovely time of year. My petals are in front of my basket handle, not my basket stem. And then you can add them in wherever you like. This one, I am going to cut out the center so my leaf that's behind is visible. And what's nice about this too is you can then take and cut out extra sections if you wanted your petals to come down over the edge of your basket. And if you need to, you can cut out the sides. Just be careful not to make your stem too wimpy or you'll rip it off. Do that. You can get them in there as much as you want. Just you can arrange them. And then the other thing that's on our card is a bow. And again, to try to mask a bow on there would be kind of frustrating and sometimes a pain. So we're going to take this Christmas bow, is what we call it. It's just kind of a nice plaid bow. Stamp it in black. And I'm going to start off, let me move my scissors here. This is a soft teal color, very, very light. Always work light to dark, because if you started off with a dark teal, there's nowhere to go but even darker, and then you start to lose your detail of your image. What I'm going to do is grab the same soft blue that I used in my flower stems, pick up a little bit of the color, and just add some detail to the lines by picking up a little bit of the blue. And I would get that all colored, and then you would take and cut it out and place it wherever you needed to. If you had a little gap in the stems, you could cover it. It's basically a puzzle at this point. And then you'd add your dots and your snowflakes, and your finished card is right there. You can see your bow can stand up. If you wanted to layer several of them together, you can actually put it behind flowers. The flowers are overlapping the edge of the basket. And that's your card. Now another variation with this basket, getting things into it, is this card with the pears in the basket. Exact same technique as this one. What you do is have your basket stamped. I'll color it in quickly again so you can see that. Back to to that light brown. And I'm doing it very quickly. You can almost hear the marker squeaking. Best trick is to not think about this step too much. Grab my dark marker, again, light markers the paintbrush, dark markers the paint, picking it up tip to tip, build the color, go back in with your dark marker. Some dark on there. Go back in with the khaki. Put some khaki in there. And if you want, I didn't do this on the last basket, but you can also throw a little bit of soft gray in there. And this is the same soft gray that we use on the shadows around everything. Sometimes it's not real noticeable, but just enough to give it another pop of color. So basically we have our basket colored again. And the same step we did before. We took our piece of paper with our stems. We use that same piece of paper. Cover up our basket. Grab our little pear. You can have them right side up, upside down, any angle. And there. There's a little extra trick if you wanted one, since this is kind of two easy angles. If you wanted one to go behind the handle, cover up your handle, cover up your basket. Oops, I kind of missed it, but that would, if I had shifted it over a little bit, it would be behind the handle. And then you'd take and stamp extra of them out, just like we did with the aster. And to color this one in, use a soft lemon color. And that golden color we used in the aster, color one side, just blend it in. And then I'm going to go back with my soft lemon color and pick up a little bit of lime green and go on the other side of the pear, because pears have sort of a green cast. And I'm going to take my lime green and just a little bit of a darker lime. You can see there's your lime on this side and your golden yellow on the other. And then you would take and cut out all your pears. There's a whole bushel of pears. I should have colored the ones in the basket. Let me quickly do that. You can see how this technique is a very quick one. You can go back and color the ones I forgot in a matter of seconds. Back and pick up your lime. That weird green shadow. Okay, there we go. Now we have colored pears. And then you can take and put your pears in your baskets. You can just kind of cut bottom off. If you want a little bit of a more of a contour, you just cut a few little dips. You can kind of see if I put it there. There's a few dips, basket edge, and you would just start building them up to the point where you want it. You can even take something, if you wanted it upside down, Okay, that one goes there. And we can chop a little bit off the bottom of that one. Now that one's behind the stems, but in front of that pear. You can take one down here. It would be in your basket. You could even take this portion of a stem if you wanted and have it sticking out behind. That one you wouldn't even need the whole pear. And just like before when we had our bow, we colored it blue. This time I colored it pink, and you can put it wherever you want to. You could put it on the edge or over the handle. In this case, put it on the corner. I had a little bit of a gap. And then I put the soft gray shadow around it with that same gray marker that we used to add the gray to the basket. And I have my pears in the basket. So again, these two cards, flowers in the basket, pears in the basket, and that's how you get things in the basket with things overlapping the handles or overlapping parts of the basket. Okay, remove my bushel of pears. Alright, the next one we're going to show you, move some of these stamps out of the way, is Chickadee in a bucket. And what's kind of the trick to this one is getting these flowers in the bucket when there's a line there. So here's the stamp. You can see there's a line, but you can't see it on this card, and I did not mask. Here's my flowers, and then our simple little chickadee. What we're going to do is we stamp our bucket. Again, I already did it, stamped it in black. Quick drying pad for watercolors. I can go over it, and then to color my bucket in, I can use my soft gray. Just going to quickly fill it in. Not worrying if I get any missed areas. I want the inside of the bucket to be a little bit darker, so I'm going to go over my gray a couple times on the inside of the bucket. And then I'm going to grab a little bit darker gray. And again, tip to tip. And just build up that color a little bit. Now before I go too far, oops, right, that's on the right markers. I should have done first, sometimes I got ahead of myself, is take these stems and get them in the bucket. Now I'm just kind of guessing where it's going to be. So I got that. Part of it I didn't stamp real well, some of it's kind of messy where there's too many lines overlapping the rocks, and that is where you would take it before you cleaned your stamp off. Stamp it a couple more times so you have parts to work with. There we go. I have a couple more over here. Now I'm going to go back to coloring this one. Take this soft teal color again, go back, add a little bit of color to my bucket. It's not just a plain gray bucket, it does have a little color in it. Switch my light gray marker and my blue marker, not the teal, but a soft periwinkle blue. Darken where it's inside the bucket. You can just keep building the color as much as you need to here. Go back to my dark gray. And then I'm going to take a soft brown, add a little bit of dirt to my bucket. Also go underneath the ground, add some brown to the handle. Also to the handle I'm going to go tip to tip with the darker brown. And then go back in with the darker brown. With something as simple as the handle, you want to have more than one shade. And then now for our flowers, along the bottom of this bucket, put a little bit of green. I'm going to come up into the flowers. And I know it's still kind of messy. And do that. A little bit of blue. I'm going to add some pinks. I missed a little side of my bucket over here. There we go. And this is sort of a fun magenta color. Go back in with the blue, hit the center of them. And then to clean up this messy spot, I'll go back to these guys. I already have some colored. I need a little bit more. Over here. Some there. And I have just a portion of this colored. What I'm going to do, I have it this way to cut it out, is I'm just going to cut around these things. Rather than try to mask it into the bucket, again you would have to cut pretty intricate mask to get it in there, so if you're going to spend the time cutting it out, why not cut the part out, glue it on, and get it exactly where you want it. Doing this quickly. And you can cut off parts of the flowers if you don't need them. You just cut the parts you need. We have this weird little portion of stems out of the flowers. You can see right there. And I would glue it right over where I needed to. I have a little bit of extra white, so I could cut that out if I needed to, or maybe I don't, just cut it off. And I would glue it down, and it takes away all that messy area, and then you can take your markers after it's glued down and get the cutout piece to blend in. And that you can see it's all messy in there. We glue that over the top and it cleans it right up. And you can't really tell unless somebody comes at it and picks at your card that it's cut out. Now we want to add a few extra flowers to this, so I'm going to take a little snowflake stamp right there. You can see it. It's just a little tiny snowflake. Rainbow pad, and I'm just going to take and bop it up and down a little bit, turning, not putting it down on my paper and twisting, but tapping the stamp on my paper. Or I'm going to take the same stamp and you squash it harder to the page, and you get kind of a star flower, and you would get your flowers in there. And then the last step is to take and put your chickadee on. Now you can take and stamp your chickadee on there if you want, but again I like to stamp it, cut it out, and then decide where I want it. Also it's great if you have maybe this part, if you hadn't stamped it clearly, then you can put the chickadee right over the top. Or if you want, Stamp a couple of them. Cut them out, have a flock of chickadees. But here is your card, and that center section is cut out. And that is also how we would do this card. Take and quickly do this. You'd have your basket. Got your basket. And then you would take the aster stems. What happens when you have small children and they dump your bin over when you're looking for it. Okay, we have lost our stems, but we'll quickly cut these out. Take your stems and we'll color them. We color them. We would spend a little more time getting involved. And then we're going to just take and quickly cut this out. About to lose my card. And you would, depending on how involved you wanted to get, cut this out. You wouldn't need to get into every little crevice. And I'm not even going to get real tight to the bottom because the trick to get the flowers over, or the stems into the basket is just kind of like what you've already seen. Cut that out. All right. Now you'd have your stems and we would color our basket brown. So then you would stick your stems down into your basket, and the trick to making them look like they're in your basket is to then stamp your basket a second time and cut out the bottom portion of it. And then you glue it right over the top. And that's how you'd get your flower or your stems into your basket, and then you can add your different flowers. If you want flowers over the edge of your basket, just like the asters at the very beginning, you would do and add a couple of them. Oops. You can add grass on the side, and it doesn't matter if it overlaps your basket because the chunk of basket you cut out would go over it. And you just piece it all together, and you can't really tell that it's pieced. That's the June 2014 project of the month.